All right, this is gonna be a multi-purpose video. I was gonna try to do a couple, we've gotten a lot of new inventory in. Before I left for vacation, we had like 30 Jeeps that came in. CJs, YJs, TJs, kind of the whole sort, Grand Cherokees, Cherokees, whatnot. And then in the past week that I've been back, we've had another 9 or 10. So you can definitely tell things are shifting a little bit. Still hard to get some of the real clean YJs right now. CJs are impossible as far as rust-free stuff goes. And then TJs are getting there too. They've released a little bit. And then the Cherokees and Grand Cherokees, we always have a plethora of. So they're always the cheaper ones to buy. Some of the more rare ones a little harder. So anyway, this purpose is mainly just to go over the YJs that I've gotten in recently, and specifically the tubs that I actually thought I had a couple removed, but I don't. So this video will show the tubs and hopefully their entirety, and then also a couple frames. I do have a frame pulled for a 6-cylinder, so there is somebody that's looking exactly for that setup right now, or possibly a rolling chassis. And then if there's something else you see, I will try to get on it next week as far as videos of each of the Grands, each of the Cherokee XJs, and then of any of the specific CJs. But again, I'm going to really gear this video towards the YJs that we've recently acquired, and give this customer and anybody else that's looking at the moment an option. Now, YJ tubs, once we post them in videos like this and online, they have a shelf life of about 2 weeks tops, and that's generous. Especially clean rust-free tubs. So if you see one of these, don't wait. And I say that with the intention of not just selling the tub, but mainly because when we don't have them, which has been, we went through a dry spell quite a while, almost 8 months of not having a clean YJ tub. They're getting that hard to get. And I'll give you an example, CJ7 tubs, which these will interchange on. There's a couple modifications you have to do. So if you have a CJ7, this is a good option. But as far as CJ goes, CJ7 specifically, those tubs rust-free have gotten pretty much impossible. And we get calls on them, and I tell them, give me your name and number, and just be patient. It could be a year, it could be 2, it could be a month, but not likely. But it does happen. So as you'll see, one more thing, as we buy these Jeeps, for the most part unwrecked. Now obviously that thing is wrecked, and that one is a perfect example of one that's got a good drivetrain in it. Still drove the dang thing, which is crazy, but it was at the local scrapyard, and we have eyes all over the place, and they called and said, hey, we gave the guy I think $250, give us 5 and we'll give it to you, which is a lot actually on that, to be quite honest with you. But the drivetrain's good, and 4.0s are extremely hard to get right now. There's some suspension, there's some nice wheels on it, so we'll get out of it what we got in it and make a little bit on it. But typically we don't mess with wrecks, especially really, really bad ones. And if we do, they're on Cherokees or Grand Cherokees. If they're on Wranglers, we don't usually play with anything that's wrecked, because there's nothing out of them. Now, funny thing is, we had 2 Jeeps come in this week that were wrecked, and one happened to be a YJ, and it's over there, I'll show you. And it happened to be a rollover as well. Guy lived in it, actually was a local farmer, his son rolled it, lucky to be alive. Same thing here, Cherokee here. So you're gonna see that one in a second. So I always say, oh, we don't buy it, and then all of a sudden you see these 2 gnarly ones. So, but if you looked around our yard, for the most part, most of these come in under their own power. There's sometimes issues with engines and stuff in them. But by and large, we really try to get them, off the road. Sometimes being high mileage, sometimes being motor tranny problems, something like that, and that's okay. Obviously, we like to get a low mileage running engine or transmission, whatnot, because we like to part all that, especially with as expensive as these YJs, TJs, CJs have gotten. But nonetheless, let me show you this one. Now, for the customer looking at this one I spoke with earlier, this one will be a great tub for you, and this is definitely a high grade A. But the frame, and so the whole rolling chassis idea, wouldn't necessarily work on this one, because we would have to pull the tub from the frame, because the frame is the 4-cylinder, and you wanted a 6, which you need a 6, and I would agree with you. I wouldn't steer you out of that direction. So let me show you real quick what the tub looks like, because I do think this is probably the cleanest one I got at the moment. And as I said in the phone call, and anybody that's watching, when I do these videos, I'll do the best I can on areas. I'm gonna show it pretty much in its entirety, but I'm not gonna be able to show you areas, for example, under flares. So we're gonna look at edges, which this one looks fine. And we're gonna look at, we're gonna show you problem areas that can be present, you know, and hope that, again, this is another area that when you pull roll bars, you can see rust sometimes in the back of them. This one, there's absolutely no buildup of any rust on these bolts or anything else. So this should be great pulling it. I don't have any anticipation of that having rust in it there, but do know that that is an area. So I say that because, again, I already explained this to this customer, but if you're looking and wondering, well, what if I buy a pre-dismantle one? Well, first off, you save a little bit of money by buying stuff like this because we're able to get cash in on something, put it in the pipeline, and get it dismantled versus just willy-nilly dismantling stuff, which gets extremely expensive in a yard this size. That's the first reason that it's an incentive for you to do it. And the second reason is you're not taking any chance, because if we get in there and it happens to be blown out, we refund it. Or in the case that most people are in, they just want a good tub. So we'll find them another one, and if we have one at the time, otherwise, you know, I'll go out and hunt for one. But I don't think on this tub, you're gonna have any issue with that. So we got the cal area here. You know, this area up here can, and especially in hail areas, Texas, Oklahoma, and eastern Colorado even, we don't get it up here hardly ever, but is hail. I don't see anything there. The windshield frame on this one should be solid as well. I don't see anything. Again, you can oftentimes start seeing bubbling up. I'll show you a couple here in a minute that have that. And that's an indicator that you might end up pulling this windshield frame and finding rust at the top of the cal here. Again, on this one, I don't think we're gonna see anything like that. So let me peek real quick underneath with the little room we have between these guys. I gotta put my phone in my other pocket here so I don't crush it. All right. Okay, so nice and clean here. Nice and clean here. These are all your torque pockets, and nice and clean here, okay? Obviously they had Nerf bars or something mounted here. These are inferior metals, and I can tell you every time I see one of these that's been lopped off, they always have a little rust on the outside of that. I wouldn't worry about for this particular frame. However, again, this is a 4-cylinder frame, so it's not gonna fit this particular customer, but you can see how clean it is through here. The belly pan looks like it's gonna be in great shape. And really, if you're wondering what's the difference between, you know, a 4-liter or a 6-cylinder, 4-cylinder, it's only the frame. They don't change anything else on the tub. And the automatics manuals, there's nothing else changed. They do a couple different mounts down here, but the belly pan is the same, the frame is the same, the tub is the same. Axles, they change gearing inside for the engine sizes, but that's about it. So, and obviously we'll get it once it's all dismantled. Give it a hot wash. We got a nice 5,000 PSI. Probably next best thing to actually getting it blasted with some 300-degree heat. So if there happened to be something weak, that usually push right through. But obviously not wrecked. Again, nice, clean, straight. And we do measure, if, for example, on frames, just because it looks straight doesn't mean there always are. So we'll still put it. We have a jig we use at the very end when we get them popped off and put them in and just measure them in, make sure that's within spec too. But again, this one isn't going to work for this particular customer as far as the frame goes, although this tub I think would be a great candidate for them if we decide to go piecemeal it together. Now, if we want to do a chassis rolling, I'll show you the other one I was talking to you earlier about. We'll go from there. So lift these guys up. Usually it's the driver's side. Get anything, and again, that's beautiful underneath. Not a bit of rust, just a little bit of dirt. You can see the nice paint cleaning up there, so that will shine up nice. Here's the roll bar pads. Absolutely nothing on the edges here. So, okay, so grade A tub. This one doesn't have, might have a couple small dings in it, but really nothing major as far as repair work on the actual tub goes. Even the corners are nice and solid. Okay, so A plus, high grade A tub right there for you. All right, so that's that one. Okay, that's one that's come in, and that one was a blown motor, so that's why we got that one. Let's see here, a couple more. Let's see, none of this that we got to run here. Now this is a good example. We start seeing a little bit of rust up in that windshield frame. Not a ton, especially in the center. So that's likely was caused by these aftermarket, and this is one of the reasons I don't like aftermarket windshield hinges, because people don't prep them right when they put them on, and they start this. So this might be mainly, yeah, I mean, it's got a little material loss. It feels a little soft there. This is probably not going to be a good frame for somebody if they're looking for a windshield frame, but we'll discount that one down. Work for a wheeler, but probably not somebody who's doing a restoration. Okay, now this tub is a great example of something I hate on tubs, which is diamond plate, and usually because it hides stuff. So this one will probably not even be offered as far as a pre-dismantle goes, because it's so difficult to see what's underneath diamond plate until we actually pull it. So we will pull the diamond plate on this one. It will be, and then we'll price it accordingly once we get it down. I do still think this is probably going to be a decent tub, at least a high B. And again, I could be totally wrong depending on what we see here. But there's some goofy things on this one in addition to the diamond plate that I don't like. They have weird, just absolutely weird carpet all over it, which is what it is. But they've lined it as well. The liners are fine, and this one is not even holding up all the way. You can see it there. A little bit of oxidation of that metal there. It doesn't look like it's rusty at all, but this one could still be, you know, we could wash this thing up and it could come out just fine. But I'm not a huge fan of liners. Some people are going to do it anyway, and if you're going to do it, then save the money, because we knock them down quite a bit to have, if they have some sort of liner on them like that. Okay, so not going to go too much into that one, but everything else you see is on it, including the weird smell inside of it. Okay, so then we got this guy here. Now this one actually got in Nevada. I drug this one back from me on vacation. So it is a clean tub, and it's a 4-liter, so we're gonna have a 6-cylinder frame under it. We got a little bit of body damage here, so this is gonna be low A, high B. I've already looked at this one top and bottom. This is an area that on that other one I couldn't see because the liner was in it. But if the liners are out, you can see right behind the roll bar where it's going to go. And usually if it's rotted, it's going to show up here. So if you're wondering and you're looking at a Jeep out there to buy, you know, they're kind of a pain in the ass to pull these liners. But if the guy will let you pull them, or they're already pulled, look right there, because that's going to show you rot and especially the roll bar is not even in this one, so this one's kind of cheating anyway. But if a roll bar was in it, you would look there. Obviously this one not being in it, you can see there's absolutely nothing here or over there. Floor pans are both solid, both sides. So one good size, not major, but, and this one's pretty accessible. You can get your hand, you know, for repair work, you can get your hand. See it, I'm all the way to elbow, so I can reach about where that crease is there. But that goes into all the way into that wheel well. So about a foot here, that needs to be reworked. So, but you know, this is a good opportunity to get a rust-free tub and save a little bit of money, because that's not terrible body damage. The floor is still nice and straight, solid. Sometimes if these get overweighted in the rear, again, if you're looking at a Jeep and you see these weird ripples in the back, they probably had, you know, bags of concrete, something super heavy. It doesn't take long to get that to do that. So nice corner here, doesn't look bad at all. And I'm not going to crawl underneath this one, only because I already did that when I bought it, and I just bought this one, and I actually paid for it before we left on our trip, and then I went back and picked it up. So again, not going to be the frame you need because it's a 4-cylinder, but everything else is good on this one. So nice clean cowl again. Here's the top of the winch, that area I was telling you about that you can see. Sometimes this is just water discoloration there. So not a bit of rust in the top of that. Firewall super clean. Fenders, we talked a little bit about those earlier. This fender, this driver's side's beautiful. That would be a grade A fender. This would be probably a B. There's no rot in it or anything, but it is marred up pretty good here with a couple dings in the front of it. So if you're able to fix it, that would be knocked down. About half actually was what these knocked down to, because these retail for about $300 and they sell quickly. So just because you can buy new fenders for $220 now, I think each, those are knockoff fenders and they're junk. And I'm not meaning that just to buy our fenders. I'm telling you that because the metal's tinny, and people hate them. We used to sell them, we stopped doing it because we had so many returns on them. Of course, we got a TJ here. This is a beautiful TJ, high hit in the front. One of the reasons I went ahead and bought this one is you can see the body lines are nice and clean on it. Super high hit, way up tall here. Runs and drives 118K. and it's got a 6-speed manual, which is super hard to get in these. Nice running engine, transfer case. We already sold the seats out of it. Had a beautiful set of seats. Those went really quick. Nice set of doors. Had a really nice hardtop. That already sold. So that's not a YJ at all, but just to give anybody else out there looking, because that one will. We got another TJ here. This one just came in. It's already pretty much parted, but still got a nice grade 8 frame underneath it. 6-cylinder 9702 frame. It's the hardest frame you can possibly find. So if you're looking for one of those, grab that one. It's not even listed on the site yet. Those don't have a shelf life of maybe 3 or 4 days when we get them up. So, okay, here we go. We got another YJ here. This looks like it's going to be a nice clean tub as well. It's sitting on the ground, so a little harder to see. Everything on. Got a ding back here on the rear corner. But I've looked at the underside of this one. I don't think there's going to be any rust here. Now, one of the things on this one that's a little weird is you can see right here, and you're going to have to get a sledge or something to pound that back down, but it's on both sides. I picked this up from another yard, actually, is where this Jeep came from. A yard that doesn't actually mess with Jeeps very often. I happened to be wandering it one day and noticed it sitting back there, and asked them, if they would sell me what they had left, and we were able to work something out. So I imagine they picked this up with a short forklift, which we have long forks that go underneath the axles, and they damaged the bottom floors here. So this is a really easy, there's nothing below it. It's really easy. I mean, somebody could get in there, especially without a top on it, pound that back down, and really you probably never notice that, especially if you put a liner or carpet or something in it. I don't think you'd have to do any body work to that as far as that floor is concerned, but it does need to be pushed back down. It would drive me nuts to drive with something a little bit raised right there. So otherwise, that should be a nice clean unit. It would have been a grade A and not been for that stuff. So windshield frame is toast on this one, and that I know right when they start getting into this is going to be rotted all the way through. We hope it didn't get down into this area that I told you about. There's a good chance it did, so we won't know until we pull that, but probably okay though. It's pretty rare that we get them down there, especially these have all come out of the Southwest, so California, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado. So okay, and then told you this was gonna be a long video, but for anybody else looking, let's go over, actually let me just do these two real quick. So this is that one. It came in the exact same day as our Cherokee, and he did live, luckily. Pretty amazing to see a Jeep that's that wadded up and somebody survive in it, but we were glad to hear that. I really don't like buying them when they're, especially when you find out tragedies happen in them, but nonetheless, frame's toast on that thing. A hard roll like that, and it bent right back there actually. So frame's toast, clearly tub's toast, doors are toast. I mean, what else would you get on it? Well, this happens to be a really hard year. This motor turns over. We actually got it to fire up, surprisingly. Pulled the fan off of it and just let it run for a split second. So this is a really hard year for harnesses and ECMs. 92, 91, and 95, 4-liter, super hard to find. Those were really popular, so we bought it for those reasons. And we'll see what else we can salvage from it. Now this guy here, this actually came from the same place, that one that had the diamond plate on it. I was on vacation when this one was bought here, and was hoping it was going to be a little bit better. I think it's going to be rust free, although we'll see when we get in there. Nothing really shows rust on it. The floor's looking solid. Had an engine fire, and you can see just because it melted up through here. But the main thing I was most disappointed about is just a little damage. That's a hard area to fix. Not impossible, and you can get back here. This has got carpet in it, so you can't really see it. But I'll show you this a little bit better. This carpet's behind the seatbelt. This fire suppressant crap is getting all over. I don't want to breathe this stuff in. Yeah, so you can see right there. So that probably can be pounded out pretty easily. But I don't like seeing it there near the door jamb. Other than that, it's got this pretty good sized ding up here. That's probably going to be a corner replacement because that's so mashed in there. But again, a good body guy, and if you're not afraid to use filler, I usually steer away from filler on Jeeps because they're so rigid. They crack. It cracks pretty easily. It doesn't last very long. So this corner is pretty much done as well. So and then you got a nice big ding here as well. And this one's a little bit harder. That's a boxed-in area, so that's going to have to be drilled and then pushed out. So that's going to be down in the 1500 range if it comes out rust-free. So that's going to be like a high C, low B. And again, rust free, as long as it checks out rust free. That's what you can expect on that kind of grading as far as that goes, from us at least. Now, good things we got in this guy, we got an automatic tilt calm. Those are getting really hard to get, and that's nice and solid. The bearing feels great in it. Got keys with it, which is nice. This one's got a manual tilt calm, which is another reason I bought this Jeep. That's extremely hard to get right now. Matter of fact, that's the first one we've had in probably 8 months. And it's got, not only that, but it's got delay wiper. So this is a really, really hard calm to find right now. The bearing is nice and solid. There's no movement there. So that will get sold quickly. This is a good example why everybody wants CJ tubs. That one's absolutely horrendous. But we did get a really, really rare. It was a 79. That came with a, let's see, a 6-cylinder with a T18 factory. And that is a super rare combination. And we bought it for that specific reason. And we got some good axles in it too. But, okay. And then, of course, I got to pee like a racehorse right now. So I'll wrap this up quickly. This is the one I actually had started off talking to you about. And this one should be a grade A. I don't anticipate this one being rusty. The windshield frame is, you know, they're so flat faced. Although with this even being like this and just a ton of rock chips in it, it hasn't gotten to the point where it's blowing this out, at least from what we can see. But obviously we got to pull the glass to see if it's actually got below the seal, and it may have. So that windshield frame may or may not be good. If it's good when we pull that glass, and that's going to be, you know, sand and paint kind of thing. This down here, some dirt buildup, but the paint looks real nice. So I don't think there'll be any rust on the top or bottom there. Damage wise, I don't see any damage on the tub or on the driver's side. Sorry, the wind is bad out here. Got a little ding right here. This is a 6-cylinder, so this would be a viable. There's your rear corner knocked in there, so we'll discount it down a little bit for that. And then it kind of gets into that area too, and you can see the gap with that flare there. And that looks nice and solid there. Okay, floors, seats are out, so we should be able to see these pretty well. Okay, nice clean passenger floor. I'll show the driver here in a second. No indication of that being bad underneath it. All right. And the liner is in this one, so that, like that one I can't even show you behind. But again, I don't see any reason on these. You know, there's nothing. There's some dirt down here, some rocks obviously, but nothing on here. And you usually get it right at the seam, you'll start seeing oxidation or rust build up, and that's nice clean paint. So don't see anything there. Let's see what the driver's side looks like here. All right, so a little surface, but hopefully nothing more. We'll look at the bottom of it here in just a second. So this should clean up nice even with our hot C. So, and this just gets dirt under it, carpet in it, very common, especially when I pull carpet. Just creates a sandpaper, and literally carpet just shifting around, literally sands the paint right off and then oxidizes pretty quickly. This one does have a little scale on it, but nothing soft on this at all. This all feels super hard. Let's look at the bottom just to make sure there's not something leaching through. All right. Okay, so that's super clean here. And then, yeah, there's nothing there. So that will clean up real nice. Nice clean torque pockets, both sides. Okay, just like on that other one we showed you. All right, here's the other up in the tunnel area. So I know it's a little limiting, but again, everything's fully attached. So now this again, 6-cylinder frame. So this one, if we were gonna do it, we'd be looking at possibly, and again, it depends on the customer's choice here, but axles, frame, tub, and then we got everything else on it. Fenders we can do. This fender's decent. I have to pull this flare. It's a little hard to say if there's anything down on this lower lip here. So we'll pull that, but that fender looks okay. This fender's pretty, but Kira thinks we got a couple of these nice ones up there. I'm pretty sure we do. So, all right. So that gave you a lot of information, but being that these just came in, we'll get something rolling on it for you, and then I'm sure the rest of them we won't have. This is the only other one, and this one is pretty much garbage. There's not much on this thing. I think we got it for the axles. We got this thing actually from another scrap yard that was about to crush it. So I hate to see him even at that point get crushed. So, all right, questions, comments, concerns, anything you have, you're needing, you're wanting, you know, ways to buy it, ways to save yourself time, money down the road. We usually part them out to the nuts and bolts and sell them like that. We're not opposed to selling them as chassis, but typically it doesn't work out because one, you know, a customer will want that tub with this frame, with those axles, or yada, yada, yada. So, and then it ends up being us reconstructing something. So to find and that's really what, and I was trying to explain earlier, but I didn't really get my point across very well. But that's really the biggest reason we don't do it that way, because it's just, you're gonna want, you know, a lot of people that want this one with the type of money you're spending, it's just, you know, it just ends up being, well, you don't have one that's just perfect, and thus the reason we ended up getting with it in the first place. So, but this would be a great candidate, I still think, for you, possibly, if you don't mind a little bit of body work it has, and the axles it has under it, and then we can throw some cheap wheels on it. These are bead locks. I don't even know if they're real. They're probably not, but if you're wanting those, we'll just build it down. And basically the way I do it, if you're wanting something more assembled, just so you know, is we price it like we normally do. Every single part we think of, there's probably a few things that we throw into them hardware-wise, but a lot of things that we have listed you're going to get on your invoice. And then we knock off labor, which is about 10% is what I estimate it. So you save that. Anytime you get 2 or more items that are more than a certain amount, we knock on a percent anyway, so you can get a little bit bigger of a percent off on it, but by and large, like I said, it doesn't end up being what everybody wants because of and I'll tell you something real quick on that note, and again, I'm gonna pee my pants, but I'm gonna walk out here real quick here and show you. I pulled a 6-cylinder frame a few weeks ago from a California one, and that one's probably gonna be nice and clean too, but because I can't show you that one that well because it's buried underneath that Jeep, I'll walk out here real quick and show you one that I do have available. It needs a bath, I think. I don't think I had time to wash it before we left. But it is a Southern California. Doesn't look like it's seen a bit of salt or rock or ocean life or anything. Sometimes California Jeeps are misleading because they got the ocean next to them, so if you spend time on the beach, they can get. But this one looks to be really, let me think where it is here. I think it is, yeah, it's this guy here. So obviously it needs to get washed. I didn't have time before when we pulled it right away, but there's not a bit of, when I wash these, and when I say this will all come off. This is all factory black from the original. All of this stuff is just dirt on this thing, and you can kind of see as I well preserved, what I call it. So a lot of grease through here, super common. Bolt holes, okay, those are all clean. The threads are nice and shiny. There's nothing broken off there. And then your whole back half, nice, clean, straight. I have measured this one already. It just didn't get washed before. So I'll flip it up. They're really not very heavy either. So I can just stand there with the wind today. I'll just set it there for a second. Okay, so again, real nice, clean frame. And we'll get this one. I think this is the only 6-cylinder frame I have pulled right now. The one right there is a 4-cylinder, and there's your difference if you're wondering. Okay, distance from the shock tower to the motor mount. 6 cylinders are almost on top of them. A little bit of gap both sides. They offset. 4 cylinders, major gap. Okay, that's just the shortness of the block. To push it back, the engine back, so that your transmission mount and everything else lines in the exact same place. They both do. Okay, so this one is a modified one. They had a, I don't know, 350 or something in that. That's what the engine mounts there are. That's going to be highly discounted. We really try to go after OEM stuff. So another 4-cylinder frame there. And I do have a 6-cylinder one under there. Doesn't look, it's okay. I think that other one will be a little cleaner though. And then we have a 03 to 06 TJ frame there. So, all right, 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. Give us a call. Be happy to help you out. And I'm gonna go relieve myself. Thanks a lot.